Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's GentooMan here, also known as Rainy, and today's story time is really funny, and I actually just came across you know what, I'll explain that later. So let's get into the story. So this story time takes place back in 10th grade, so my first year of high school. I think some people, 9th grade is their first year of high school. My first year of high school was 10th grade, and so it was the second semester of 10th grade. It was the second half of it, and I had this film class, right? And in this film class, it was a lot of like free-for-all, sort of. It was sort of like, here's a few basic guidelines for what your project needs to be, but otherwise kind of just like have at it. Make some form of film. And I loved that. I ate that shit up, you know. I know at the time in 10th grade, I've said this before in some stories, but I didn't have a ton of friends. I didn't really interact with a lot of people in 10th grade. I had like a lot of on and off friends, but I didn't have any like solid groups of friends or like solid people I hung out with. So I was fine, and I enjoyed this film class. I could just stick my earbuds in and like listen to music, or like stick them into the computer and listen to whatever I was doing. And I could just make things, and it was a lot of fun. And the fun fact about me, this isn't supposed to be bragging or anything, but I ended up getting 100% in that class. It would happen frequently where my teacher would kind of walk over to find me doing some random shit, and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just like working with this new program." He's like, "Well, I haven't taught you how to do that yet, but you seem to be doing it all right, so yeah, go for it." So yeah, the ability to just like work by myself and make things, I really enjoyed at the time, because like I said, I didn't have like super stable friend groups, and even like the stable friends that I had kind of like gone off into their own classes and kind of like lost our friendships. Fun fact though, 10th grade is where my nickname of Rainy came from, so that's nice. But anyways, I'm getting off topic here. In this class, there was a lot of people who like were in groups, but there's also a lot of people like me who kind of just like to work on their own. One of which, we're going to call him Clyde. So there was this kid named Clyde in the class, and he, a lot like me, he was a really like sort of quiet kid, although he was like notoriously like a little weird. Just like the stuff he was into, and every time he'd show one of his projects in class, it was always just like a little like strange. People would find it, but it's like when it comes to film, creativity is creativity, vision is vision. So if your stuff is weird, that's perfectly fine. Like, I like weird movies, so I don't know. It was just like a note that people had about this man, and he was, you know, a little different. So one day, you know, we all have student emails. So like we all had a way to contact each other. They were all available through like the school website and stuff. Like, not like the school website, but like we can sign into like our own little like interface, and they were all available on there for people to find. So one day I end up getting an email from this Clyde guy, and he's like, "Hey man, I've just been working on this like little bit of a like opening for a Siren Head movie, and I was wondering if you wanted to check it out and like give me your thoughts on it." Now, for those of you who don't know what Siren Head is, it's a creature. It's created by Trevor Henderson, who's like this cool horror artist. And if you saw the movie Tarot recently, which I did, he did the monster design for that movie, I think, actually, which I didn't love the movie, but the monster designs are pretty good. Anyways, he's responsible for like the cartoon cat as well. But Siren Head is like the big, tall thing that lives in the forest. It's super, super tall and has like sirens for head. And it was like a popular thing on the internet a while ago. So I responded, I'm like, "Yeah, man, like that sounds cool. I'd love to check that out." And then he responded not that long later. He's like, "Okay, cool. Like, I'll send you the video file." And it took him like, I think about an hour between that email before he sent another one. And he sent me the video file for this supposed Siren Head movie. So I started watching it, and it started out with just like, I think he said it was supposed to be like a found footage type movie, which is like, fair enough. Like, found footage movies, I like them. I feel like there's very few good ones. Like, Blair Witch is always a like topic of discussion amongst people. Like, I think Blair Witch is like good, but some people think it's not a good movie, but it's good as like an art piece, like a piece of film, and I can agree with that. Creep and Creep 2 are really good, but like, you know, found footage is kind of hit or miss, and I feel like it's kind of a really good way to make like lazy horror almost, but I can understand going for found footage for like Siren Head or something. Started out of just like found footage type, like just footage of, I think, probably this Clyde guy walking through the forest. It was a little dark, like it wasn't nighttime. It was just like, you know, the sky's kind of like purple and orange because the sun's setting. It was like about that time. It was kind of just him walking through the forest for like, I think it was like 10 minutes almost. It was pretty long until like you get to the end of the 10 minutes. He's like saying some like dialogue, but like there's wind, so you can't really hear what he's saying. And by the time these 10 minutes of him walking through the forest are up, then there's like a Siren Head shows up, and it was like just a green screen chroma key effect that he probably found on YouTube and threw in. Didn't really mesh, but kind of like runs toward the screen. It cuts to black and then says like Siren Head as the title. And then something unexpected happens. You know what? I'm actually going to give you guys a couple seconds to guess what happens next in this this Siren Head movie. Go on. I'll give you a couple seconds to, like, you know, you just guess in your brain. All right, you got your guess? Okay. So what happened next is it just cut to a video with a very clear, like, porn site watermark in the bottom corner of a girl just pissing on the floor. Is that what you guessed? Because it wasn't what I guessed was going to happen either when I was watching this. Obviously, I, like, paused it immediately, and I tried to, like, skip forward to see if there was anything else to the movie, but there wasn't. It was just that. It was just 10 minutes of this dude walking through the forest, filming himself, and then this video was the next scene. So I turned it off, obviously, and stopped watching it because there was nothing more to it. And the next day in school, I ended up seeing Clyde in film class, and I ended up going up to him like, "Hey man, I watched your movie." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Like, what did you think of it?" I'm like, "Well, I see the idea that you're going for with, like, found footage horror and everything, but what was up with that second scene, man?" And the weirdest part is, like, I expected him to be, like, somewhat, like, phased and look, like, a little embarrassed about the fact that was in his movie. He's like, "Oh, yeah, that. Like, obviously the movie's unfinished, and, like, that's supposed to be, like, the main character's best friend, and that's supposed to be, like, the start of another kill scene, and I just haven't, like, figured out the CGI and everything yet to get that scene going, but, like, that's going to be really important to the movie overall when it's done." And that's not the answer I was expecting. I was just like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." So I started asking questions. I'm like, "Hey, like, what happens next? Like, who's the main character? What's her, like, connection?" It's like, "Oh, you know, she's just, like, her best friend, and she dies." I'm like, "Well, why is she doing what she's doing?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know. I just felt like it fit." I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, why does it, what?" And he's like, I actually have, like, the whole movie script, and I can send it to you if you want." I'm like, okay. Because I have to admit, I was curious at this point, like, what the hell was this dude's vision for this movie? So he's like, "Yeah, okay, like, I'll send it to you." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll read that. I'm going to go sit down and do my work." And the computer I always sat at was, like, across the room from this guy. So I went and sat in my computer and I did my work. And he did actually end up sending me the script, but I never actually read it. I think I probably still have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So if this video gets... If there's enough comments telling me to read it, maybe I'll do a video reading it for you guys. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much that story time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new. How did I keep screwing up my outro? Subscribe if you're new. You all know the drill at this point. At least I hope you do. That just sounded so forced now that I screwed it up. It's kind of a funny little story for you guys, and I really hope you did enjoy it. I'm kind of doing okay getting back into these daily uploads. I hope to continue that. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I love you all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.